Well, good morning, dear friends. Here it is, another morning. It's it does feel like Groundhog Day, doesn't it? I was just speaking to my wife Jennifer for a moment, and I said I'm so delighted at how my brain is working. I had that pretty substantial brain surgery back in November, and really suffered a lot from the seizure medication, and then also just a level of fatigue and challenge that went on for a long time. The neurosurgeon said expect maybe 4 to 6 months, and I thought, of course, for me it would be a month and a half, but it was a long time. And anyway, I was saying about how efficient I've been feeling, and Jennifer looked outside to my tent and said, maybe you just needed a tent. So there's some truth to it. In my youth, in my 20s, early 20s, I thought I was going to be a mountain guide, a mountaineering guide. It turned out I was a guide of the inner journeys. So I have a poem. It's fun having a poem select itself each morning. This is really a beauty. It's by John Fox. I've never come across any of his other poetry. From When Jewels Sing. But boy, does it ever sum up something about the love that's necessary to heal us and for our practice to truly blossom. So, softening. Letting the poem just flow over us, into us. When someone deeply listens to you, it's like holding out a dented cup you've had since childhood and watching it fill up with cold, fresh water. When it balances on the top of the brim, you are understood. When it overflows and touches your skin, you are loved. When someone deeply listens to you, a room where you stay starts a new life, and the place where you wrote your first poem begins to glow in your mind's eye. It's as though gold has been discovered. When someone deeply listens to you, your bare feet are on the earth, and a beloved land that seemed distant is now at home within you. When someone deeply listens to you, deeply listens. When someone deeply listens to you, it is like holding out a dented cup you've had since childhood and watching it fill up with cold, fresh water. When it balances on top of the brim, you are understood. When it overflows and touches your skin, you are loved. When someone deeply listens to you, the room where you stay starts a new life, and the place where you wrote your first poem begins to glow in your mind's eye. It's as if gold has been discovered. When someone deeply listens to you, your bare feet are on the earth, and the beloved land that seemed distant is now at home within you. Another whole day to practice and see how often mindfulness jumps into the foreground, how often mindfulness interrupts a worry or a plan or I thought I'd today actually interrupt myself here. I think this is going to go on for some time. Our mornings together. And I'm going to just very systematically go through and touch on the teachings that are really crucial to understand the Buddhist teachings and meditation. Very short in the mornings, but on a course of a retreat, let's say the 12-day retreat that I doubt will go this year, but there's a whole map of the Buddhist teachings are so articulate. How to have the experience the Buddha had, and on a retreat I go through them systematically, and I think I'm going to do that here. And we have more time in a way. So today it's the 5 hindrances. So I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. So, what a nice foundation to have. Hello, dear, beautiful people. How wonderful, extraordinary to wake up and get together. And we don't even contribute to climate change. We actually get to stay at home. Pretty cool. Someone shared yesterday that the Himalayas are visible from way south into India for the first time in a long time. So let's sit and let our own busyness and machinations subside, and maybe the fog, maybe the smog in our own minds will just settle out. Because it does, doesn't it? If we take a little time to sit. Awakening is quite a natural process. We just need to give it some time. So, softening into the body, into here, into this moment. Open to the sounds that are around you. Opening to the life in your feet and legs. opening to the life in what you think of as your hands. Into the face. There's the cheeks and the lips and the nose and the eyes. Anytime this guidance that I intersperse is of no help to you, just notice it as hearing. Just another sound coming into being, disappearing. And coming now into the experience of the breathing. The breath is part of nature. In order to keep the billions of cells, countless bacteria in the body operating, they need a constant supply of oxygen. So there's this method that evolved of pulling in the atmosphere. Our greater body, the earth, provides us with this air. And then we breathe out. It truly is a form of communion. And we can bring an attitude of gratitude to it. Thank you, dear, beautiful, magnificent Earth Mother, who gives birth to all things. I honor you with each breath. when we form the intention to use in-breathing and out-breathing as our home base or training object, this somehow illuminates the fact when the mind goes off into its various trances, its past trance, its future trance. And this can wake up our curiosity. What's happening? You might discover that the mind is wanting something, craving something, lusting after something. Or maybe it's fighting against something, resisting, disliking what's happening. The first two hindrances, desire and aversion. Perhaps it's restless and agitated, jumping around from thought to thought, worrying. The third foundation, the third hindrance, restlessness and agitation. Or maybe it's sleepy and dull and disinterested, kind of nodding off. Sloth and torpor. Or maybe it's doubting. Rather than sinking into being here, there's wondering, shouldn't I be doing something else? Or does this work? Can I do this? Doubt. These five accompany us. By becoming aware of them, we awaken. We turn them into awakeness. And so we sit. Home. Deeply embracing the breath and the body. If this is one of those times when the mind is very pliable and quiet, when it takes very little effort to remain present with the breath, with the sensations of life, you can watch how clarity of the moment waxes and wanes, how there's a kind of super presence, and then there can be a drifting off into a little bit of cloudiness or into one of the hindrances. But it doesn't get very far because awareness is not quite all-encompassing, but accessible. And so in addition to observing the arising and passing away of the sensations of breathing and sounds, the impermanence of this clarity also is observed. It's always the same lesson about impermanence, about dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, the fact that the self is a living process. It's not a noun. Breathing in and knowing it. When someone deeply listens, it's like a bent cup we've had ever since childhood is filled. When we deeply open, when we are willing to hear the small cry from within, both the cry of our wounded personal neurotic selves, but also the still small voice which says, be more quiet. Disturb less and less. Rest in the absolute beauty of your being. And in this quiet place of the heart, this place of awareness, please notice the sounds around you. Notice the life in your body. Where is there pleasant sensation? Where is there unpleasant sensation or even pain? Take note of the quality of mind which is present now, and do just a moment or two of review. What's happened during this half hour? What's been revealed about the moment-to-moment process of your life, of this that you take to be myself? And noticing the fact that in the face there are sensations in a place we call the eyes. And let them move around a little bit. This way, that, up, down, sideways, left, right, circles. And then forming the intention to let the eyes open, and then allowing them to open. Open and seeing. Similar to when we wake up in the morning and there's that realization that I'm still alive, I'm present. The same with seeing. Seeing is happening. What a world where seeing is possible. And then you might discover there's a little stiffness, so you might like to stretch a little bit. But don't abandon presence. Notice the strange, pleasureful pain of stretching. I have just a couple of announcements before I want to give a micro Dharma talk on the 5 hindrances, and then opening to the community as we usually do. And I must end at 8 sharp. We have a PIMC board meeting that I must get to online. So, the announcements. Richard Lang is coming to town on Saturday this week. You can find the information about his Headless Way gathering on the website, portlandinsight.org. And I really highly recommend you join Richard. I'm disappointed he didn't come this year. He stays here with me when he's visiting, and we have a wonderful time. His understanding and way of teaching non-duality, being simply present, is really remarkable. And he can do a lot over the internet. He has ongoing conversations with I don't know how many groups, but all over the world. So check that out. It's I forget the time. It's all on the website. Oh, and my Dhammapada class begins in a couple of weeks, and I invite you to take a look at that on the website as well. It's the first time I've ever done it. I love the Dhammapada, and we'll be doing a very deep read of it, and then reading it, and then sitting with it during the week, and then coming back to explore. It's really a practice class based in the Dhammapada, which covers the range of the Buddhist teachings. And then lastly, please remember to support your Dharma Center, because it's providing there. How many people now? 76 people on this morning. One of our calculations that we've done over the years is if our participants at PIMC thought of it like a yoga class and contributed as a minimum, if they could, $15 to $20 a class, then our budget would be absolutely fluid, and we'd be able to continue doing everything we want to do. So, a suggestion, and also recognizing how good it feels to give in any context. So, my Dharma talkette, the 5 hindrances. You know that tendency, I want it, I want it, I want it. It can be, I want it, I want it, I want it, or it can be, I want it. That creates a trance state. That creates a self that wants something. Its opposite is, I don't want it. I don't like this. I don't like this mental state. I don't like what's happening around me. I don't like... And so we have wanting and not wanting, and we spend our days back and forth between these. And of course they're there in meditation. And one of the reasons I always talk about the hindrances on the first day of a retreat, because it's such a relief to realize that they're normal, and also that we don't have to fight them. That when the mind is in that, to be aware of that is perfect practice. And then the third hindrance, restlessness, agitation, worry. There's lots of people worrying a lot these days. What a wonderful thing to be able to be in your meditation, and then the mind is doing its worrying thing, and to be able to notice, that's worry. Thank you for sharing. Back to the breath. And if worry persists, you'll continue to observe worry. And then there's sloth and torpor, dullness, which is the state. People often say, I can't meditate because I'm falling into unconsciousness. Well, that's fine. You fall into unconsciousness, and then something really remarkable happens, which is, boink, and you wake up. How does that happen? The I that determines I'm going to stay here and present and upright disappears, and then there's this. What a remarkable thing to watch. And then the fifth hindrance is doubt, skeptical doubt, which is a companion. It was there with Siddhartha until the moment of his enlightenment. It's a companion that is kind of a force that's opposite to awakening. I don't believe this, or I'm not going to change my habits, and so to notice doubt is incredibly liberating, because here's doubt. All right, I'll come back. Coming regularly to this, or having some way you have some other person with whom you connect around your practice is really important, because doubt will come. Doubt can come in any time, and it can be really big, and people sometimes stop practicing because of a doubt attack. So wanting, not wanting, one polarity, restlessness, agitation, and worry, and sloth and torpor, another polarity, and doubt, strong enough to exist all by itself. Okay, that's my Dharma talkette. Let me thank you so much for coming and participating. This is maybe this is part of my clarity these days. I always sit in the morning, but this is very nourishing. So, what time is it? Oh goodness. Okay, 7:39, digitally speaking. Please bring your beautiful hearts and anything you're experiencing in this moment to us, if you will, if you want to. And also questions are possible. Please just unmute yourself and come in. I think if you press your space bar on a computer, you unmute. Susan, can you unmute, Susan?
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. Often lately in my practice, this big sadness comes up. And it's a sadness for the body and how uncomfortable it is and needy it is, and I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. Can you tell me anything more about that? I'm just hanging with it.
Well, I have a sensitivity to a deep sadness as well, and part of it is quite personal in a way with the vulnerability of this body. I know the intrusion of the surgeries, the brain surgeries, left me much more tearful than I used to be. And in the recognition of how much pain and suffering are a mere aneurysm away, and just how hard it is, how much work it is to maintain the body. Getting food, eating food, taking care of toilet functions, showering, I don't do enough of my exercises every day that I should. My hip hurts, and if I spent half an hour, I talked to a body worker friend of mine, and I said, how much time do I need to put into this if I want my hip to stop hurting? And he said, 50 minutes to an hour a day. Well, yeah, and that on top of, and then I've got these extra pounds. I put on 20 pounds following. I lost about 16 pounds after the surgery, nausea, and then I put more on. It's endless, this body. Well, that's not true. The body is temporary. And the teeth. I have teeth, that are going this way and that way. So it's dukkha. And so to attend to it, and then when we have something degenerative or more acute, all of a sudden it just sucks all our energy, and then it's huge. And then there's, I mean, I don't know Stephen Levine said that when we get in touch with grief, it's the grief. It's the grief of the doggie you lost as a child, or the grief of the alcoholic parent who couldn't pay attention, or it's the grief of the place in the family system where one was dominated or dominating, or it's the intrusion trauma, or it's watching 30 seconds of television and seeing what's happening in supposed leadership. Here's the sadness. It's so hard to be a human being, and we deny it. It's the great, there's the anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and as Ruth puts it, Dalink, there's always a leak in the canoe. There is always a leak in the canoe, and it's leaking way more than I ever believed. And you know, when you're young, you have these fantasies. Oh, someday I'm going to have it all together, and it never arrives. So how's that? Are you still there? Oh, can you hear me?
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're you know. So the shorthand is life sucks, and then you die.
Yeah. Okay, at least I'm not alone.
Now, on the other hand, there is such exquisite beauty. Look at those trees around you. Is that a lake behind those trees? I mean...
No, this is my sister's farm where I'm living.
So there's that, and then there's how's that poem go? The beauty of friends dancing at a wedding. There's so much exquisite experience. And then there's meditative experiences, the tranquility and ease and concentration and beauty and love that come to be our experience internally, which are not dependent on body. So it's the whole enchilada. And to be able to accept, to love that sadness.
Oh.
That's
okay.
that's part of the package.
Uh-huh.
If we're going to have an experience of separate identity, we're going to have sadness. And it's one more of the colors that come through the consciousness. And then and I'm sure this is true for you. It's there, and then it's not there. And sometimes it's and I've done a lot of trauma work with myself and people over the years, clients. And there's a really interesting phenomenon that happens when people really open up into deep, deep, deep grief. There might be tremendous sobbing, and then maybe some rage, and then uproarious laughter. And then back, it's as this whole emotional thing unwinds.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you.
A delight. Bye-bye.
Robert, this is Christy. Do I remember, probably incorrectly, that sometimes we can focus in on that physical discomfort and just think, like meditate on it, and then you might have a feeling of a different perception of it?
Absolutely. That's the primary exploratory strategy. When there's an emotion, it comes from the body. There's a place in the body where that lives, where you experience it. If you turn toward that physical sensation and open, and when the mind wanders, come back to that, then wondrous things are revealed. I mean, among other things, we discover this may be very intense, and I'm not this. Because there's this awareness. If it's something that I can be aware of, am I it? So it's a very strange teasing apart of our sense of identification with things. There is a price, though, because when we focus on things, they become more intense. And sometimes they become really intense. And sometimes the right thing to do is to stay with it and just open further and further. And sometimes the other is to say, thank you very much, I've done enough of that, back to my breath, or time to stretch or something. And that way we become less and less afraid of everything we find internally. So those, the self-hatred and the fear and the hatred of others and sexual desire and terror and all that we over time we embrace it all. And then there's nothing to fear. Or I should speak experientially, then there's less and less to fear. I think the Buddha's experience was there was nothing more to fear, but not quite there yet. That makes sense? Yeah, good.
Hey Robert, it's Randy.
Hey, me.
Yeah. Hey, during this time of not being as busy, I've noticed two things. The fallacy that I need to be somewhere else doing something else, when that's been taken away, and I'm realizing how all-encompassing that thought is, that ever-persistent white noise that I should be doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the most important. And so that is taken away. So I've really been trying to focus my meditation on that concept, on what a lie that is oftentimes. And then the other thing that I've been noticing during this time is I have a 135-pound Great Dane who's going to be 9 next month. So he's entering the winter of his life.
Yeah.
And I've kept him healthy. We've gone on hikes, and I'm starting to see him become an old dog, where he starts to stumble a little bit. We can't go on the hikes that we used to go on. And to what you were discussing earlier today, no matter how good you trust in fitness and in health and in proper nutrition and diet, we will all hopefully become old and fade away. And I think I've been needing to learn some lessons in my meditations about that. So I just wanted to share those insights with you. So thank you for this.
Before I came out here, I spent about a minute with my little dog Budo. And I was talking with him and saying, I'm going to miss you. He's still functioning fine. He can run around, and he's deaf. He's become much more affectionate, but what a hole there will be in my life, because right now he's sitting at the door to come out here. I didn't let him out because he'd be too cold. But I know it's a short time now. And what a lesson, huh? When these friends go, our hearts will be torn open so exquisitely awful. And we'll learn how to love more. But similar to what I just said to Christy, turning toward the anticipatory grief, and then when the real thing comes, to actually turn toward it and make time and open. Whoa. Then that's the parting gift of our loved ones. And sometimes it's the greatest gift they give us.
But isn't turning toward it in an anticipatory fashion preventing us from being present in the current experience that he's still alive?
Not if it's happening. I'm not saying make that your life's work, but when you see him stumble and you realize, he's going to go, to be aware, to honor that's anticipatory grieving. Mm-hmm. Natural phenomenon. Lucky dog, having had you.
Yeah, indeed, he's had a good life.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Randy. Isn't it great to just sit and breathe?
Hello, Robert.
Well, hello, Sherry.
I couldn't believe that I woke up at 6 o'clock quite naturally this morning.
It's getting out of control.
You're really a very strong magnet, you know. I just wanted to share the beautiful thing that happened here on our little Quadra Island on Easter. It was planned a few days prior, but very spur of the moment. And some people organized an Easter egg hunt for the children. And when I first read it, I thought, oh, no, you can't do that. And what it became was a request for anybody who wished to put decorations of any kind in their windows, at the end of their driveways, someplace very visible, and then it was marked on a map. And then the message went out to all the people who had joined in, most of them family members with children. It was the children's Easter egg hunt. And then on Sunday morning, all the decorations went out, and I've been able to see them. I didn't choose to go drive around by myself, but they made it into a little slideshow. And parents took the children out, and they drove around that map, around the island, and you should see the beautiful, heartwarming, sweet decorations that people put out for the children. It was just delightful.
Yeah, there are countless exquisite adaptations to this circumstance, and how
we have the
fortunate
oldest
we are.
long-time May Day celebration on the coast.
Huh.
And it comes not on the long weekend, but the following weekend. And there's talk about the possibility of doing something similar for May Day. It's a huge celebration on the island.
Great.
So people are just creating these wonderful things.
Yeah, look at us.
Exactly.
This is amazing.
I mean, I've never been to Portland Insight Meditation Center,
You can't say that now.
but now I feel a part of it.
Yeah. All right, my dear, I got to check my time. I need to go maybe in a couple of minutes. Anybody else have something on your heart you'd like to share? I can be late a little bit. Well, dear ones, thank you to those of you who are tuning into this in other portals other than Zoom. I hope you all have a safe, wonderful day, and you really keep your practice of mindfulness going no matter what happens. Just a little Dharma story popped to mind just now. Two monks from the time of the Buddha, two monks on the way to the village for their morning, for their one meal a day. They're going to do alms round, and they get just outside the village. It's a long walk from where they live in the forest, and they get there, and the one turns to the other and says, I have to go back. I'm sorry, my friend. See you later. I just lost mindfulness, and I refuse to take my alms until I can do it the whole way mindfully. So some of the stories are a little extreme, but it's that the fervent desire to awaken results in, here I am sitting in my car. Maybe I'll take 3 or 4 breaths before I move, or here I am turning the ignition key, or now I'm about to step into the shower. Can I do this mindfully? Actually, as I've aged, I came close to a fall in the shower about 6 months ago, or maybe more, and it was like, whoa! I was within a millimeter of losing my balance, and it really encouraged further. When I step in the shower, I'm going to be conscious. When I make those little micro adjustments, it's too hot or too cold, I get quite picky about having exactly the right warmth. And be aware of that too. Or the smell of the shampoo. Now that's nice. All right. I must go to my meeting with the board. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of this wonderful journey of waking up together. I'm going to unmute and we'll do our little song. Unmute all. There we are. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu. 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 Goodbye, dear ones. See you tomorrow, I hope.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
How you doing, Stephanie?
Hi. Hi.
Hello. Oh, it's so amazing watching people do. Goodbye.
Thanks for being there.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Such a privilege to be here in this role, and also to be alive right now.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Off I go. Take care. Hello, Stephanie. Stephanie in Doha.
Yep.
Goodbye, dear friends. Thanks for joining us.